This is a DIY video on how to make burlap roses. The first thing we're going to do is take a strip of burlap. I buy the burlap at Michael's, and I'm going to cut a strip off of this material. About 2 inches. Now the easiest way to do this and to make sure that it's uniform all the way across is to pull one of these strings through all the way. So the first thing I'm going to do is just cut here where I would like for it to be. And then I'm just going to take this string and start pulling, and it will gather all the way across, and then that will give me a nice straight line that I can use when I want to cut the burlap. You have to be very careful when dealing with burlap. It frays along the edges really easily. I will zigzag across this edge before I make the flowers, but if you would actually like to zigzag across that edge before you even cut your next row off, that would even save more fraying. And all the way to the end. And if you're really careful with it, it will not break in the center. If it breaks, well, it does. It's not really going to be the end of the world. It's just to use as a guideline. So I'm not sure if you're able to see that or not, but now there is a little space here where you can very easily cut the strip of burlap that you would like to cut. So you're just going to cut down along between these lines. The longer you make the strip, the larger your roses will be. If you would like to make them taller from top to bottom, then you could make it wider. There. So we have our strip now of burlap. I'm going to measure it just so you can have a better idea of how long it is. So, almost a yard. Yeah, there we go, 36 inches. So that's how long it is, and we are right on our 2 inches. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to fold it in half, and then we're going to fold it in half again, and then we're going to fold it in half again. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut little bumps out of the top. That's going to make our rose petals. So if you press down really hard on these, it gives you a bit of a guideline. So let's say we're going to do up here, down where my thumb is, cut way down there, and then back up, and down where the little pressing mark is, and then back up, and then down about here, and back up, and then down on the end. Now this makes little loops across the top. So now we're going to take the sewing machine, we're going to zigzag across the bottom and up and around each of these loops so that it doesn't fray when we're making the roses. So as you can see, we've done across the bottom, up around each end, and around the top of each loop. I'll finish that and then I'll be back. So I'm starting now to assemble some things to actually make the rose. So you'll notice I have a little tiny container with some water in it, and I have my trusty glue gun, and I have my strip of burlap that I have zigzagged around. Now it does not matter which end you're going to start with, but what we're going to do is we're going to make a pleat. We're going to skip the first one, and then we're going to make a pleat in each one of these little petal sections. Glue with the glue gun, dip your fingers in water, and that will keep your fingers from being burned by the hot glue. And press together first, glue with the glue gun, wet your fingers and press together. We're going to go the full length doing this to each one of the petals as we go. Keep it nice and straight. Try to keep your little darts even. Each rose is going to be unique. I'm going to continue on down to the end, and I'll be back. So I have made a pleat in every one of my little sections, except the very first one. And this is how it's going to look. You'll see it got a lot shorter. Still going to need your water, so keep it close. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make, this is going to be the bud in the center of the rose. So we're going to take a little bit of glue across the bottom, and then we're going to roll this in a little bit tighter in the bottom than it is on the top. And you're going to press it together. Then I usually put some glue along each one of the pleats, and then we're just going to start going around. You're going to use quite a bit of glue. Press them into each one of these petals into the center. Remember to keep wetting your fingers so that you don't burn them on the hot glue. I like to put about 3 petals around the center bud, evenly spaced, relatively. Every rose is going to be unique. So I have a space here, so I'm going to tuck this one in here and press together. You can see we're starting to get a bit of a rosebud there. And I'm going to put this one in here between the other 2 and press it together on the bottom. And we just keep going around. Wetting your fingers, pressing, holding for a few minutes. I would say it probably took me about 10 minutes to do the darts in the little leaves, petals. This part tends to go faster. Just remember that once you press that petal into place, it's going to be really difficult to get it taken off. So try to have a pretty good guess at where it's going to go before you put it there. Now as you come closer to the end, if you want to, we want to make our petal lay down, our rose, we want to make it bit full. So we're going to not put it as tight around the bottom, and then that will make our little rose fuller. So just continuing to glue. You can put your thumb right in the center petal, the little bud, and that will help to hold things together for you as you glue the last sections in place. Fingers, remember, don't burn fingers. And the last little one just tucks along the bottom. So your bottom looks something like this. Press it up together a bit if you like. And then we can press our petals down. And we have an adorable little burlap rose.